As I was preparing my talk this week on how to create your healthy body, and in the creating of that healthy body, how do we do that? And I want to take it from the balanced perspective. And we hear so much about building health out there, and it's all about the doingness of eating. It's the way we exercise and all of these, and the medicines or the supplements that we take. And someone I was talking to as I was sharing this said to me, read October 10th in 365 Days for Richer Living by Ernest Holmes. So I want to read to you a passage in that. This great healing, energizing activity is all around us as a vital presence and within us as a vital life. We did not create it. Neither does our food, nor our exercise and play create it. It is an impersonal gift from the universal spirit. Our food habits, our sleep, and our times of exercise merely keep open the channels for it to function through us more effectively. We either use it rightly and are healthy and fresh at all times, or we misuse it and we are sick and depressed. It is our individual responsibility. Knowing the power of thought, we keep our minds filled with the idea of a fresh, clean life that is forever welling up within us and seeking to release by means of us. Seeking to release by means of us. So many times, people will say, can I heal my body right in this very instant? And the answer is no. Why is the answer no? Didn't Jesus do that? Well, think about this from this standpoint. If you're talking about you healing your body in any given moment, it means that what? There had to be an instantaneous shift in your consciousness in this moment to generate a mental equivalent that is taken in at the deepest level of your being. The belief is so strong, there is nothing in your subjective mind that's going to take you there. And can we do that? Have you seen that happen? I haven't seen that happen. In all of the experience I've got in this world, all the people I've met, I have found, and Ernest Holmes says this really clearly, he says, there's a natural evolution in the demonstration of prayer, or there's a natural evolution in the creating of anything in our lives. Evolution meaning that we've got to shift the sum total of our thoughts from where they are, where we are not experiencing what we want, to that which we want to experience. And so there's a process involved. And you see, the beauty of this is the teaching that we have. It's not teaching you what to think. It's teaching you how to think. And we're teaching you practices that empower you to do this practical work. You see, we are a positive, practical way of life. So people say to me, they want to get into these real theoretical, high-level discussions about God and stuff. And I say, I'm sorry, I don't want to dance. Because I'm not a theoretical individual. I understand theory and I can talk theory, but I'm about the practical aspects of this. I'm about bringing these things into my life and using them into my life, exemplifying them out, and then being a teacher that can teach others how to take the same tools that have worked for me and bring them to you so that you can try them. And you see, I always say, don't believe what I tell you. Don't believe a thing I tell you. Test it, find it, prove it for yourself. And if you prove it for yourself, you will buy it. You see, one of the things that's overlooked, we think by just doing an affirmation, we can change what's happening to us. But you see, there's another aspect of doing an affirmation. It's about knowing who you are. Knowing you are the individual of the infinite consciousness. You are the expression of God. You are divine beingness. You are spirit. Whatever name you want to give it, that's who you are. And when you come from the place of knowing that connection beyond belief, and you start affirming things and you shifting the mental atmosphere, and see, when I say mental atmosphere, what are you doing? It's like if you take a piece of tin foil, and you've got a piece of tinfoil, you can mold it into a shape, can't you? And so let's say we've molded it into a little bird. We've got a bird shape there. And that bird shape represents what? Something we've created. It's got an image. It's got a mental equivalent to it. But all of a sudden, you want to have a horse. So what do? You unfold the piece of you unfold the tinfoil. And now there's a process of reconstructing with that tinfoil to get the shape of the horse. You see, the tinfoil doesn't care what it is. You see, that's the aspect of God that is responding to our thought. It does not care about what we create. It only takes the tendency of what we think. Notice I said tendency. So as we move towards something, the tendency gets greater. That's the process of bringing the demonstration or the experience we want even closer into our lives. So you see, there's a process of creating. Does that make sense? You see, everything has to be looked at from this standpoint. Is it practical? But the thing I want to take you out of, and when we're looking at practicality, I want to take you out of the idea that you're limited. Because so many times when we're using this idea of practicality, we're saying, well, I can't do that. It's never been done. I can't heal myself. It's never been done. I can't create this company over here or this wealth or have this relationship. I've never had that experience. I've never seen anyone have that experience. That limits you right there. You see, there is no limit to what you can do. The only limit to what you can do is what your mind thinks is. The greatest people that have walked the planet, that have created new ideas, did not believe in limits. They were rebels. Jesus was the greatest rebel in the history of the world. Think about what he was talking about when he was talking about it. In front of Rome and everyone, he was talking about things that were never heard before. He was a rebel. He was disrupting the Jewish society at its very core. And because of that, what happened? They couldn't deal with it. They couldn't see beyond their little box, and they put him to death. The example of Jesus is what we do to new ideas. We do that to new ideas that come into our life all the time. Our children will have a new idea. Whoa, that's beyond my perspective. I got to kill that idea. Oh, my wife wants to try something different. Oh, that's not part of the marriage paradigm that I was brought up with. You see, the second you kill an idea, you've come out of love. Because love is free expression of spirit. The thing I want to say is that faith in God, faith in oneness, faith in a universal principle that exists, and action are useless if they're done separately. If you just have faith and you do nothing, you just have faith. If you do something without faith into a power, you're doing something, but you have no power behind it. When you bring the two together, you notice it's a balance. You're bringing the divine aspect and the human aspect in together, and you get to that center point. That's where all the power exists. It's so clear that people, when they're ill, they'll focus on their illness. And in doing so, what are we creating? More illness. Here's the power. What did Jesus say? This is so brilliant because I never heard this way before. He said, turn the other cheek. It doesn't mean when someone slaps you, you give them the other cheek to slap. That's what I thought. All these years I thought, well, someone hit you, give them the other cheek to slap. No, it meant turn away from the condition or experience that you're having now and go toward the experience that you want. Shift immediately all of your thoughts into the new desire. Put all of your energy into the new desire. From where? Knowing that the Father is within. Knowing that the infinite intelligence is right within you. You see, when we take the teachings the way Jesus really meant them to be taught, there's so value in how we look at this life and how we can empower ourselves and create. But when we take them and say, He is different than us. He's the Son of God and I'm not. Interesting. Did Jesus ever say that everyone else was not the Son of God? Never. Jesus said, this I do and you can do and more. Saying you have the same power in you that I have in me. And what did he say his purpose was? I come here so you can have life more abundantly, or you can have more health. So he wasn't saying it was me. He was saying it was the teachings. It's the way of using universal truth and principles that allow this to happen. So I want to come out to this idea of balance. And so when we come to the balance, we're balancing within our mind. And my beautiful friend, John DeMartini, John says this all the time. He says, you can't be Pollyanna. You can't think there's only good out there. Because there's always the other side. And the key about life is to recognize where there's light, there's darkness. And when you come into that, you're not living, but you realize that all aspects of life are always present. What does quantum physics say? Quantum physics says so clearly that every possibility that ever existed exists now everywhere. Do you follow that? So any possibility that could possibly exist exists right now and exists everywhere, and where we put our focus will be the reality for us that we experience at that time. So the question is, where are we going to put our focus? But you see, we've got to be in balance, because where we put our focus, now we have to balance our actions in alignment with that focus. So we've got a harmonious interaction of faith and action coming together, moving in the direction for what we want. So let's take this health idea even deeper, because we've all heard about exercise. And we heard that exercise is the key to a body like this. Oops. I exercise quite a bit. What? An hour a day, 5 days a week. I'm not even tithing my time to my physical body and exercise, if you think about it. Because if I was, it would be 2.5 hours I'd be giving to my physical body every day. I don't do that. But the key is, I have a mental image. I have ideas of what healthy eating is. I have an idea of what releasing stress is. I have an idea of how to drink, how much water is. And so what I'm doing is I'm balancing all of those things, not the right way, but the way that works for me. Am I being clear here? Because so many times I'm not here to tell you I'm your self-help guru, and if you want a body, I can help you get the body. No, you figure out how to get the body for yourself. Because each one's body is different than anyone else's body, and they're going to respond to foods differently. I'm a vegan. My wife is not. Being a vegan is a choice. It's not a way of life for everyone. Everyone's body responds differently. Science will support all different ways. Science can support anything. Can you understand that? Science can take a paradigm, does this work? And they'll create a paradigm, and you've got, eating for your blood type. There's one thing. There's the bodybuilder program. I've done that. I've done them all. Here's the key thing, though. When you're in balance, you listen to the wisdom in you, and your body will tell you what's right for you. And when you're so tapped in and tuned in, it's like, how many people have heard that extra virgin olive oil is very healthy for you? Anybody hear that? Everybody has. Well, I'm sitting around saying, God, I'm always got gas. And it's not because I'm full of it. But I was sensitive and said, what are the main things that I eat? And so I figured out what they were, and I went and I had myself muscle tested for these things. And the thing that came out was olive oil, for me, caused agitation. So what did I do? I didn't just believe it, I stopped it. And I said, how do I feel? Ooh, I feel good. Okay. I started it again. How do I feel 2 hours later? Ooh, I don't feel good. I stopped it. I started it again. Because I wanted to make sure it wasn't just a mood swing, my hormones were out of balance or whatever the situation is. And when I came to the conclusion, for me, olive oil is not what I can do. And then what I tested, so what can I do? I said, well, organic coconut oil. I tried that, and it worked. Now, that's not right for everyone. You see, but building balance in our lives is about each of us taking the responsibility and doing what is right for them. This is the whole idea. And so when we're talking about balance, it's like our body. If our body's is pH balanced, in other words, we have acid and we have alkalinity, and we find the place where it can be in pH balance, in that state, cancer cannot grow. It's that simple. It cannot grow when it's pH balanced. Then, if we know that's the state where our body functions the best, how do we research and find out what is our mental equivalent of bringing us into balance? See, it could be we drink more alkaline water, we eat more alkaline vegetables, we do more meditation. Meditation reduces stress. Not only does it take you into oneness, but the health benefits are incredible. So you see, it's finding this way of doing this dance in life. And the dance goes between the human and the divine. The human and the divine. We're always dancing between. We're never going to stay perfectly in the middle. Can you hear that? Because to stay perfectly in the middle means there's no contrast. And if there's no contrast, then we don't have the ability to choose. Without the desire to choose, we won't know what to create next. And if we don't know what to create next, we're not creating. And the only reason we're here is to create. If you really come down to it, people say, what is your purpose in life? My purpose in life is to create. And you as an individual get to choose what that creation looked like. But your DNA says, I'm here to create. And when you create, you're in joy. You're in bliss. But when you're not creating and you're bored, you're absolutely miserable. When you're delving and living in the past, which is not creative, right? You're not going to feel good. And if you get attached to, oh, the girl I took to prom was the best, and you just live there and you build it up to its iconic level, what happens then? You'll never be satisfied with what comes along. Because where are you living? You're living in the past over something you built up that wasn't even real. You've infatuated upon it. You ever notice? Well, you haven't, but I do. I get a good story, and I tell that story, and guess what? Every time I tell it, it gets better. I can add words to it. I can create things, and I'm embellishing that story because for me, there's an emotion. Well, okay, this emotion wants even to convey it even greater, so let me get some new words and tap these words into it. So don't believe your own story sometimes, okay? Ask the question, when you're telling that story, is it serving where I want to go? That's what I'm always asking. Is it taking you toward more love? That's a great question. You know, you hear in Christianity, they talk about what would Jesus do? Well, you know, Jesus was human. And sometimes Jesus wasn't settled into the divine. But the question Jesus would ask is, how can I be more loving? How can I give this love and be this love all the time? That's the question. How can I, in my unique way, in my individual way, be more love? And in that moment, you will find that way. You will be divinely guided. And what you have to do to find love is you have to turn away from the conditions. When my mother died, that affected me more than any person leaving the planet at this time in my life. And what I found is, in order to go through the grieving process, I honored her, but I turned away from the experience of death. And I focused on the experience of life. And what the first thing I put into my mind was this, that if I'm going to focus on the experience of life, I'm going to see my mother, how she lived. I'm going to see the joy that she brought, that she gave me, the lessons and all of this, and know that she was able now to release the pain body that she was in as she struggled, and now was free to be in whatever the next level of existence is. And when I could put that aside and I started now focusing on life, I put my energy into expressing life in its fullness. So my grieving process was not that long. Do I still think about my mom? Yes. So you see, there's a balance. Remember I talked about there's light and there's dark? I'm not trying to fool you and say that my mother's death didn't hurt. What I'm saying to you is I honored the fact that she was alive and the beauty that she was to me, and I honored the pain that I felt as she passed. And in that, I come together and bring them together in balance. And in the balance, my feelings become neutral. And when my feelings become neutral in that aspect, I'm now free to go about creating my life. You see, I'm not attached to the high, and I'm not attached to the low. I'm now free. I've honored everything that represented in that moment, and I'm back in balance, and now my mind goes forward. Because if I stay in the grief, what am I creating in my life? Stress. If I'm creating stress, where's my pH balance? It's way off on the acidic side. When I have acid in my system, what's the biological science behind that? Acid is eating away at my organs. It's more of my body that would normally be regenerating its cells are now going to take care of the acid, so I'm not doing that which is natural in the body to keep me this beautiful young 25-year-old man. And stop laughing. You see, it's always about that. And the thing about it is, in this movement of New Thought, and we're a part of the New Thought movement, it's ancient wisdom thinking new. That's all it means, okay? The key thing about it is it's all about personal responsibility. And people come in and they hear that word personal responsibility and they get it and they like it until something happens. And they'll leave for a while. Or people will get it, they'll heal, and they leave for a while. And then they come back. Why? Because it's hard to do alone. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying it's more difficult to do alone than to be with people that are surrounding you with an energy of seeing it. I'm going to tout what's going to happen in the first Sunday in November. In November, we're going to have a month on living a complaint-free life. We're going to go after the book, and you see these? It's a little purple bracelet. You're all going to get one. And the whole idea is that when we go through the movement, we go through this experiment together, it's going to be, can we go 21 days without complaining? Because every time you complain, you got to take it off, and you got to move it over here, and you got to start all over. You become a new day one. And let me tell you, the more than 70% of the people who go do the program never finish. Of the people who do the program, it takes between 4 and 6 months to do 21 days. Now contemplate that from a health perspective. What is that saying? If you're complaining, what are you putting into your body? Not a positive thought, not a thought. You're putting an acidic thought into your body, so your body is having to work differently, and it's not working to bring it to homeostasis. So there are so many benefits through this thing. It's incredible, this idea. So we're going to dedicate a whole month to this one simple concept. And the beauty of it is that when you're not complaining, what are you focusing on? What you want. Because you're not focusing. And if you're focusing on what you want, isn't that what we teach in Science of Mind? As you think, as you believe, you create. So we're trying to take an experiment of thinking a certain way with a little tool, a little bit of fun, and we're getting ourselves to move in a whole direction. Do you realize what will happen to the world if this group of people right here were able to complete the 21-day challenge? The world will change because everyone you know will change. What will happen is some of you will take it into your office. I was talking with one of the managers, the senior managers here at the Marriott just a few moments ago. He said, Lee, what's that thing on your wrist? And I shared with him, and I said, here's what I'm going to tell you. You get this book. And if you read this book and you get your senior management, get the general manager of the hotel, Mary. And if you want me, I'll come and talk with her. Get the management to do this. you will make this hotel the most first-class hotel in the world, because as the managers go about living a complaint-free life, it will radiate down to all the other employees, to everyone who walks into this place, and everyone will want to be at this Marriott. See, you can do that in any business. This gentleman who wrote this book and started this idea, he's done this all over the world, and it works. Well, when you find a tool like that, let's grab hold of it. Let's use it, right? Now, being complaint-free doesn't mean you don't see the dark and the light. You see them, but how do you express it? There's balance. You see what I'm saying? We're back to balance again. So this whole idea of living a healthy life, of creating a body, and I want to really be clear about creating a body. There's no perfect way for a body to look. Can you understand that? Everyone in here has a different skeletal system, right? Everyone here comes from a different genetic background. While we're all one, I don't know about you, but my background, well, there's a bunch of me that comes from Poland. There's a bunch of me that comes from Sicily. And as my mother said, just because you're Sicilianly, remember, Sicily was invaded numerous times by all of these people from all over the world, so you're a mutt. Don't think about yourself as, well, you're a Sicilian. No, there's no such thing. Everyone is, how do I say this? Inbred? Is that interracially connected in some form or fashion? There is no purity. Remember, we're all one. So one of the things that happens is a lot of places like to celebrate diversity. I don't. I want to celebrate inclusivity. Because here's the thing, if there's one and practicing oneness, then all there is including everything within that one and realizing there is no difference between people. We're all God expressing, and we're doing it uniquely, perfectly, in our own individual way, and there's no better way. And you see, when we've gone there, do you think we're going to have a healthier life? Why? Because we're no longer in judgment. And what are we doing when we're in judgment? We cannot be loving. The second we judge, we're out of love. When we're out of love, what do we have? We have stress. What does stress do? You know, it's almost like Abbott and Costello. First base. Who's on first base? What's on first base? Who's on first base? No, what's on first base? You know, that whole thing? Anytime you come out of love, you're causing your body to go where? To stress. Anytime you come out of balance, you're causing your body where to go? To unhealth. So the idea is, how do we find that balance? And you see, we do that. It's so simple. We do it spiritually, understanding there's an allness, and understanding we're a microcosm of that allness, so we come into balance there. We do it mentally in that we see both sides of the same coin. We're able to see the mental aspects from both different positions. We then come into it from a physical standpoint in that we align ourselves, realizing there are certain things that are going to feed us, and we bring that into a balance in our life. But the most important thing is we create a balanced mental image that is real for us, that is genuine for us, that is authentic for us, and not someone else's image that we've adopted or we've allowed ourselves to have thrown upon us. You see, we were meant to be unique as us. Each of you right now is perfect as anyone who's ever walked the planet. And for anyone to say that you're not perfect is just an out-and-out lie. When people talk about perfect, remember, you can look at it this way. This is real easy to accept. Everything in my life has unfolded perfectly based on my thought patterns, because that's how the law created what I thought. Now, the perfect me is going to shift my thought patterns and have a new perfect experience. But this me is no better than this me because each of them was perfect. Because remember, there's no one here to judge you. There is no God above that is judging. The only judge is the one within us, and we get to choose to quiet it, to silence it, and to let it just be off into the side. So living a balanced life is accepting your divinity, accepting your human, and acting in oneness. Next week, we're going to talk about health as a revelation. We're really going to get some preaching going on. I felt it as I was preparing this week for this talk, and then I saw the revelation, and I said, this is going to be great. So next week, come, and you're going to feel a different energy about health. And what I'm doing is why I'm dedicating 4 weeks to things is because I really want you to get the message over and over and over again so that you can embody it through the week, and it becomes more a part of your mental idea, your mental equivalent, your mental mold, so that you can begin to use it and to create a new life. So let's go and balance this intellectual talk. And let's go into prayer. I want to thank you for joining us today. I am so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask you to go to our website. Once there, click on the Contribute button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to the world. I would also ask you to please share this message with anyone you feel might benefit. Again, I want to thank you for joining me and the Agape community as together we bring joy to life.